Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our latest TMA virtual briefing previewing the 2024 legislative session of the Illinois General Assembly. My name is Rich Carter. I'm TMA's Government Affairs Consultant, and I'll be the moderator for today's briefing. We're joined by TMA State Lobbyist David Curtin, as well as a very special guest, State Senator Seth Lewis of Bartlett, who is a member of the Small and Midsized Manufacturers Caucus in the Senate. And Senator Lewis represents 43 TMA members in the 24th Senate District of Illinois. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, we're going to spend the next half hour discussing the outlook for legislative action in Springfield this spring, the potential impact on TMA members, and the outlook for the year ahead. Now I'll turn it over to TMA State Lobbyist David Curtin, who will introduce our special guest and get his thoughts on the spring session of the Illinois General Assembly that's just getting started in Springfield. At the end of the program, TMA members will have an opportunity to ask written questions of Senator Lewis by typing them into the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. David, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Rich. Good morning. Well, let's get right to it. Senator, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background for our members?
I'd be happy to. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking the time today to listen to me and David and try and glean some sense of what's happening in Springfield. I'm State Senator Seth Lewis. I represent the 24th State Senate District, as mentioned, which is the northern and western suburbs of DuPage County. My district encompasses bits or all of 18 different communities, which are home to about 500,000 residents here in the western and northern suburbs of DuPage. I'm not a let's say professional politician. I started my career as an engineering graduate from the University of Iowa, and I started in manufacturing engineering. So I have a deep understanding with many of you on what you do on a daily basis. I started my career out at the Culligan manufacturing facility in Northbrook, which was a vertically integrated manufacturing and distribution facility, 400,000 square feet in size. We had injection molding, blow molding, vacuum forming, machining consisting of 5-axis machining centers. We did welding, TIG welding, MIG welding, metal stamping, assembly, just to name a few. And we had an in-house tooling and die center where we actually made our own injection molds, made our own stamping dies, and did the maintenance on those. My job was director of engineering, and I was responsible for the technical infrastructure of this 400,000 square foot facility. For those of you in the injection molding business, I know that a sine of 1 degree is 17 thousandths per inch, and how important that is if you're pulling a core on an injection mold. Leaving Culligan, I went in partnership with my old college roommate and a few other guys, and we opened up a 150,000 square foot manufacturing and distribution facility in Melrose Park. We employed about 130 individuals. We did light manufacturing, light assembly, warehousing, distribution into tier 1 retailers such as Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, Staples, just to name a few. Our primary product was office products and paper shredders. Coming out of that, though, in 2007, if you guys have been around, we fell into a little bit of a manufacturing recession, especially in Illinois. And at a C-level or director level job, it was difficult for me to go out and find employment here in the Chicagoland area. I could find it elsewhere. However, my family was established. My wife is in the educational system. We had 2 sons. Both families were in the surrounding suburbs. So I decided to change careers and become a state farm agent in 2009. I've been doing that until today, currently 2024. But during that process, I learned that our state, we have a lot of opportunity. We have a lot of embedded wealth. We have things that no other state has, including our location, logistics, labor, access to low power or low cost energy, believe it or not, compared to the rest of the state. Access to fresh water. We grow more food than we can consume. All these things have embedded wealth that other states do not have. And being a leader in my community, I decided to get involved, ran for election, lost, ran for election in 16, lost, ran for election in 2018, lost, but I kept with it. 2020 became a state rep, 2022 became your state senator. So now they got me until 2026 at least. And that's just a brief. I am married, coming up on 26 years, 2 boys. Oldest is 23, youngest is 21, and we're happy to still live in Illinois.
That's great. Thank you, Senator. Hey, well, how would you characterize or what would you like our TMA member companies to know about the upcoming session this spring? We just kicked it off January 16th.
So one, overall, have faith in Illinois. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong. I know many of you are out there potentially suffering, frustrated with what's happening. This General Assembly session, I think, is going to be a little light, at least until the primary, because it is an election year in the House. So, and for many of our state senators as well, that are on 2-year terms. So I don't believe we'll see much that is going to rock the boat. Couple that with things out external to us that we're going to have to deal with, such as those coming to Illinois unannounced, those who are still impoverished and wanting and battling for the same resources that are available to those, like I said, coming here unannounced. That's going to take the eye off the ball of many things in which we want to fix, in my opinion.
Okay. And so can you give a little description of types of legislation that you do expect to see in the General Assembly? Maybe that would directly affect small and mid-sized manufacturers, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we're going to see is things related to education. There is a continued drive towards getting the trades and getting the skills back into the high schools or community colleges, developing the workforce. I think that will maintain momentum. I wish I could have great news and say we're going to get a small business tax credit or things of that nature. We're battling for financial resources all across. So I think, even my own bill, I do have a legacy and, employee tax credit that rewards businesses who are sticking with Illinois and hiring employees on a permanent basis. That's out there. That's my own Senate Bill 2074. I got to remember the numbers, but that's going to be tough in my opinion. But education related, BIPA, we may see some movement on BIPA. I hope we do. As you know, and I know, David, we were talking about this earlier, you were going to bring it up, but Senate Bill, the BIPA legislation brought forth by Senator Bill Cunningham is a nice fix. We're going to be working towards that. Senator Cunningham is a leader in the General Assembly, in the state Senate. So if he's carrying it, that has good promise. But the House is a different animal. So I don't know what's going to happen in the House, even if we get it out of the Senate. Again, it's something, though, that even our moderate caucus members across the aisle on the Democratic side they know it's a problem for Illinois.
Yeah, on the BIPA legislation, the Biometric Information Privacy Act, I'm pretty sure everyone on this call is familiar with that and the problems we've been running into, because TMA has been very vocal about trying to get our members to call their legislators to get some change. But basically, it's been lawsuit heaven, I guess you would say, for a lot of
unfortunately.
Doing class action lawsuits against small and mid-sized manufacturers who used biometric information, and they used it the right way. It's just that they didn't get the signature of the person, but that they used it before they did it. And so the difference in this legislation would be what?
What Senator Cunningham is proposing is, I believe it just dropped yesterday. So, but the main concepts have been that it's not a per incident fine, that it's a individual. Even if they clocked in 100 times, the current interpretation is that you get to find the manufacturer, the use of these time clocks in most cases 100 times. It'd just be a single incident per person. In addition, we're trying to put in there that you have to demonstrate actual harm to the individual. And that one probably has a little bit tougher as the trial lawyers are concerned getting through. But those are the two main aspects from which I understand we're trying to fix.
Okay. Great. And how would you characterize this General Assembly? This is the second year of the 2-year General Assembly for this 103rd General Assembly. How would you characterize their respect towards the helpfulness towards small and business in particular, small and mid-sized manufacturers in general?
It's a battle. It's a battle. I'm on the moderate Republican side, and I do walk across the aisle, and I try and help my colleagues understand. And one of the things I've gained success with is, it's going to sound possibly weird coming from me, but I believe in a equitable opportunity for prosperity. So 3 words are equitable opportunity for prosperity. Truly believe that. And that is a catchphrase that my colleagues use many a times. And I say, that's great. We're working a lot on the equitable side. I think we're going to fix that. In fact, in many cases, it's already been fixed. But what your legislation does is diminishes the opportunity for prosperity. That if you are going to continue to tax, if you're going to continue to put in regulation, if you're going to continue to make it more difficult for our manufacturers and small business owners here in Illinois to create the opportunity for prosperity, we can be equitable all we want, but those individuals are going to go to Texas, Indiana, Iowa, or Wisconsin to find their opportunity for prosperity. And it gets them thinking a little bit. And they're willing to talk about, okay, you understand what I'm trying to do. Tell me what I'm missing. Because most of my colleagues, in fact, I would say majority, have never been in a chief operating officer, VP operations type role. And that's the experience I bring to the General Assembly. And I don't try and browbeat them. I try and have diplomatic conversations, just explaining what is happening in the majority of our well-run manufacturers and small businesses here in Illinois.
And you feel most of the members have that reception to that? At least there's always a few that will, it's their way or the highway, right? But do you feel that most members have a good reception of that?
Correct. They do. Now, whether or not I can pull them across the aisle and get a vote yes, that's where a lot of internal politics and their own horse trading within their caucuses occur.
Okay.
And what you're going to see probably play out even a little bit more in public as we have some real issues related to budgeting and funding of those who are coming here newly to Illinois. But it's starting to resonate.
Okay.
And I take leadership. If I'm a Republican, we're supposed to be the business owners and talk about how business can be successful for everyone. And I take that role very seriously in the General Assembly to actually lead on some of these issues, even though we're sitting in the super minority position.
That's great. Well, I know Rich probably has some questions to ask. Any closing thoughts before we go to the questions from our TMA members? Any closing thoughts that we haven't covered or that we have?
Yeah, we real quick, reiterate, have faith in Illinois. If you think about all of our embedded wealth and natural resources that we have, that we've been in the midst of a management problem. Unfortunately, the voters are the board of directors, and they haven't yet made the change to oust the current management system. But the more we talk about it, the more we get our voters to understand that we truly are trying to help everyone in our state. The easier it'll be for us to do business, in my opinion.
Great. Rich, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, David. Senator, now it's time for questions and answers from TMA members. For those of you on your computers, or if you're using the mobile app, you can type your question and submit it through the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. I'll read the questions and ask our special guest to answer them. In the meantime, I'll ask Senator Lewis the first question that was pre-submitted by a TMA member. The question is, Senator, I was pleased to learn about your background in manufacturing. It seems Springfield is loaded with attorneys, but very few legislators have practical experience in industrial settings. How does your knowledge help you influence other lawmakers when legislation arises that will impact manufacturers? Senator?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for researching me. Most people don't, so that's awesome. I think I touched on that a little bit in some of my answers, and it affords me the opportunity to walk across the aisle with confidence and talk about real life situations because many of our legislators are coming, or they're representing the folks that work in your businesses. When I talk about forklift driving, when I talk about dock working, when I talk about a gentleman running a CNC machining center, I have that direct knowledge that their brother also works in it, and we can connect. So it establishes credibility in which they know I understand, appreciate, and empathize with many of the potential worker issues, but can then bring in the business owner's perspective to try and get legislation that's beneficial for both.
Great. Thanks, Senator. All right, we have another question. The question is for the Senator. Is it effective for TMA members to invite lawmakers into their businesses? Does it make a difference? Senator?
Yes, it does. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in your business, but having that relationship with your legislator is incredibly important. And you cannot, just some advice, you should not come out guns a-blazing and telling people, your legislator, you need to change this. Appreciate a little bit some of the dynamic that they have to deal with in Springfield, but to have the ear and respect of your legislator to understand what you're trying to do. I know all of you have great facilities that are concerned about safety. You're concerned about the employee. They're your biggest asset that is driving your customer service and profit margins. Without them, you would not be in the positions that you are. And I know all of you understand that. And being able to demonstrate that and teach our legislators is incredibly important because in my perception, the majority who do not understand believe the business owner is very wealthy and taking advantage of their employees. And just describing how you're not, it would be eye-opening for many of them.
Thank you, Senator. Again, if you would like to ask a question, please type your question on the Q&A tab on the Zoom control panel. We have another question.
And I'll take any question you want. It doesn't have to be manufacturing. I know there's a lot of hot topic issues such as migrants, busing, budget, healthcare, so.
Sounds great. Sounds great. All right. Well, this question says, Governor Pritzker and the Democratic majority continued their onslaught on the business community this past year by passing the Paid Leave Act, the Temp Worker Bill, and failing to fix BIPA. What should TMA members be concerned about most from the governor and the legislature in 2024? Senator?
I know I'm not looking at the camera. I'm thinking. I'm looking out of my window right now, trying to garner some thoughts of wisdom, because half the time they just spring it on us. Some of this legislation is devised behind closed doors that no one even knows about, and it goes through committee in about 48 hours and through both chambers and in the governor's desk. I don't think we're going to see a lot again. We're back to an election year. They know they're pushing the envelope, and they have other issues which are not favorable to their, what do I want to say, public presence, as the city of Chicago continues to mismanage things. So I think they're going to even try to appease the business community a little bit, as far as, we're not doing anything. We like you. You're important to us. I think you'll see even a little bit of rhetorical change in how the governor is trying to, he has his closing fund and bringing in business and saved Stellantis through the UAW negotiations, and rah, I'm your champion. You're going to have to hold your representatives accountable for their behaviors prior to the election year, to last year. That's what I would tell the business owners. Don't be short-minded. Don't forget what has been happening.
Thanks, Senator. Another question, it involves talking about the estate tax a little bit. There was an effort last year to reform the estate tax to increase the exemption from 4 million to 12 million, which is the federal level, the state exemption. Do you think there's a chance something like this can get passed this year, now that the state is facing budget deficits again, along with pressure to spend more on things like the migrant crisis? Senator.
I'm hoping. They just yesterday, unfortunately, they pared the bill down. Senator Kohler, in conjunction with Senator Resin, bipartisan, as well as House member, is it Chung is her last name? She was brand new last year. Just introduced legislation related to the estate tax to tie for farmers, unfortunately farmers only, to the federal level. That's going to get some traction. The skeptics believe it is an election year stunt to try and make mailers. I'm 50-50 on that. The real, I'll tell you guys, political issue what makes it difficult. I do believe the governor believes in the estate tax and tied it to the federal level. I do. However, he's a multi-billionaire, and it'll be perceived that he is potentially, helping himself in the process. And that is what is stopping him from doing what's right for business and for our farmers that have a large amount of their assets, in physical equipment, plants, things of that nature. I know, and David, I think you and I have talked about it, that if you're a small machining center manufacturer, you got $10 million in equipment, instead of letting your sons or family or inherit that, or you're selling to a hedge fund that's going to consolidate it and move it out of Illinois because of the estate tax. It's a problem not just with farmers, but it's a problem with every small business out there that has a high investment in capital equipment. We're pushing it to get it done, but it's going to be tough. I don't want to mislead anyone. I would still talk to your accountants and financial advisors about having this issue in the coming years if you're approaching retirement.
Thank you, Senator. All right, we have another question. I think you have a little experience in this. The question is, how does one start to get involved politically? I've never been involved too much in politics, but as a business owner, I'm concerned over what is happening in Springfield. Senator.
It starts differently for everyone. First, you got to have that, I want to get involved. There is the official side of your township organizations, be a precinct committeeman, but that means going out to doors. But the other thing is just calling your state representative, your county board member, your mayor, and wanting to get involved and wanting to be invited to something. We all have fundraisers, and this isn't a fundraising pitch, but the typical ante at the door is $100. Well, that $100 will get you in a room full of everyone who's typically politically connected in your area. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican side, they will all be of the same party and like-mindedness in the room. And then you can work your way from there. You can decide that you want to run, you can decide you want to support, you can decide you want to message, you can decide. I have many manufacturers that take a very strong stance and invite me in to speak to their employees because they know they're all voters in the area. And your level of involvement can go in. And if you want to talk to David, I have 10 years of unfortunately losing, but I can probably accelerate the curve so you don't have to go through that.
Right.
Be happy to talk offline, and give you some factual advice. And I'm an engineer, so I call balls and strikes, no doubt about it.
That's great. Thanks, Senator. We have another question. The question is, will there be an attempt to make it easier to hire non-citizens in Illinois this year? Senator?
I think so. A lot of that's created at the federal level through work permits, but we're seeing typically that process takes 9 to 12 months is my understanding. The Pritzker administration has put teams of lawyers as well as put together a group of community volunteers. I'm hearing that work permits are being issued and sometimes in 45 days, which I'm supportive of. I much rather have individuals who are coming here get to work sooner versus taking away resources from those who have been here a long time. So I think we'll see some movement on that throughout the year so that you can hire them legally, in my opinion.
Thanks, Senator. All right, I think we have time for one more question. And the question is, Senator, do you think anything can get done on a bipartisan basis in 2024 to help the business community? Senator?
I think it can. I think it can. The BIPA, we're pushing. I think you'll see some changes in the Paid Leave Act, or from a state level. If you're in Cook County or Chicago, that's a different animal where they're actually making it. You can make a law more stringent if you want. You can't go less, and that's what Chicago and Cook County have done. So, for those of you in those counties, I'm sorry, in that jurisdiction. The concept of bipartisanship, though, is that they're not going to give us a win on the Republican side. So publicly, you may see a partisan vote, but it doesn't mean we're not behind the scenes trying to get some of the things fixed that we know you need. The trouble is they throw in a poison pill at the end, and they have the votes. There's a rule, as you guys know, 60-31. It takes 60 votes in the House, 30 votes in the Senate, and the governor to sign it. When you have 78 members in the House, 40 members in the Senate, and you own the governor's mansion, they allow us to have something be perceived bipartisan or not. That's what we're facing. So there's always more about that going on behind the scenes as far as bipartisan input, whether it's bipartisan public voting, that's a different thing.
Great. Thanks, Senator. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Before we leave, Senator, do you have any closing thoughts for TMA members?
Love you guys, or love the business owners, the executives that are. I was just told I called you guys. I know there's probably even a lot of female executives on there. I don't mean to. That's just my age. I'm sorry. But love everyone. Love that you have your businesses here in Illinois. I'm appreciative of it. I always, promote the opportunity for prosperity, which is what all of you provide to our residents here in Illinois. That does not go unnoticed by me, and I'm starting to get traction that it's not going unnoticed even by my colleagues. So stay involved. Here to help. Let your lobbyists know they're great in Springfield, so they're always around. They're valuable. So a shout out to you guys, and I look forward to working with anyone in the near future.
Thanks, Senator. I want to thank Senator Seth Lewis for joining us today, along with TMA State Lobbyist David Curtin for leading a wonderful discussion as always. And of course, we want to thank all of our TMA members who took time out of their busy day to join us today. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Goodbye.